Studies Session 6. History of Record Keeping in Social Work Practice. Introduction. Over the past century, records have been more diverse and complex as the demand for accountability and the audience for the record have grown and changed. New recording approaches have been introduced and have taken their place alongside existing forms. Within a single agency, practitioners with different backgrounds may use very different theories and approaches to recording. Record keeping as a whole has changed in response to changing practice theories and methods, practitioners' roles and responsibilities, agency structures, and interagency relationships, as well as recording techniques and technologies. Yet, agency records are often an eclectic mix forms and formats that originated at different points in history when different assumptions about accountability were current. NASW 1994. Objective. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to list types of recording in social workplace. What are the types of recording in early social workplace? History of record keeping in social work, ledgers, and narrative records. The earliest records were simple ledgers documenting the distribution of resources to people in need. Thames, 1972. These records showed no act of judgment. Sheffield, 1920. But like today's face sheets, stored facts about the client situation, the need, and the resources provided. By the second half of the 19th century, records had expanded to include not just who received what, but also why resources were needed and what impact they had on the client situation. For the first time, practitioners were making a case, that is, making judgments about clients' needs, resources, and responses. The notion of accountability had broadened beyond documentation to explanation and evaluation. A new form of recording was needed. The narrative report was born. The publication in 1920 of Sheffield's The Social Case History, its construction and content signaled an important development in the history of social work practice and recording. Sheffield linked the three purposes of recording to those of social casework itself. 1. The immediate purpose of furthering effective treatment of individual clients. 2. The ultimate purpose of general social betterment. And 3. The incidental purpose of establishing the caseworker herself in critical thinking. Sheffield, 1920. In our view, the record should move beyond factual information to the key conceptions which would give the fact significance. The worker should frame a hypothesis as to what a fact means and then research for confirmation or disproof in recurrent instances. These key conceptions, a precursor of today's assessments, focused on social rather than psychological causes of personal distress. Like Richmond, 1925, Sheffield believed that the need for social casework services originated in defects in the social order. For Sheffield, accountability meant describing, evaluating, and improving social conditions, as well as delivering effective services and enhancing practitioner skills. Process recording. During this period, records were influenced not just by developments in social casework theory, but also by developments in the social sciences and social research. In 1928, Borges, a sociologist, suggested that social workers should make their records more useful for sociological interpretations by including verbatim accounts of what clients said. Verbatim records would reveal the person as he really is to himself, in his own language, Borges, 1928, and would therefore be useful not just in service delivery but also in research. Other sociologists and social workers argued that practitioners would find keeping such records too time-consuming and that practitioners would not be able to recall accurately what the client actually said. Further, some asked whether a caseworker could be both practitioner and researcher, a question that would again be raised in later decades. Can one be simultaneously scientific and sympathetic? Can one preserve objectively in a subjective experience? Eliot, 1928. This debate went beyond the content of the record to its ultimate purpose. Should it be accountability or research? During the 1920s, it became clear that accountability would remain the primary function of the record, with research relegated to a secondary role. Nonetheless, by the end of the 1920s, the process record, a verbatim account of the social workers and the client's communications during an interview, was being used in agencies to document some cases. Its purpose was twofold: to monitor service delivery and to gather information for development of practice theory. Today, process recording has been supplanted by other more efficient approaches to accountability and other more systematic methods of gathering information for research. However, process records are still widely used in social work education as a means of teaching and learning practice. Wilson, 1980. Students learn about their clients, the service transaction, and themselves by preparing, recalling, documenting, and analyzing their transactions with clients and by responding to supervisory comments on the process record. Preparing for process recording means that the student must concentrate on each interaction in sessions with clients. Recalling and documenting the process of service permits the students to review and re-experience what occurred. Finally, analyzing the process and responding to supervisory comments helps students to develop a deeper understanding of self, the client, and the relationship. Despite its widespread use, process recording has several limitations. It provides only indirect, incomplete, and distorted information about what actually occurred in the service transaction. It is time-consuming, and it does not prepare students with skills in summary recording. Diagnostic recording. Hamilton's social case recording, 1936, and Principles of Social Case Recording, 1946, were the most influential books in the history and development of social work recording. Hamilton's approach to recording the diagnostic record was grounded in psychosocial practice theory. Like Sheffield, Hamilton, 1946, believed that the record was the writer's attempt to express, as practitioner, the meaning of the case. Unlike Sheffield, who believed that the record should focus on common characteristics and social causes, Hamilton believed it should focus on individual characteristics and psychosocial causes. Hamilton's work cemented the relationship between the practice, the practitioner, supervisor, and the record. In her view, recording was not a skill to be learned by following guidelines. Rather, the quality of a record grew out of an understanding of clients and was reflected in the practitioner's diagnostic judgment. In the ultimate sense, only the trained diagnostician can write a good record, for only he can pluck from the unending web of social experience the thread of possible significance. Hamilton, 1946. To Hamilton, accountability meant documentation of the worker's evolving diagnosis of the client situation. Records were written primarily for use in supervision to develop the practitioner's diagnosis of each client's situation and to build the practitioner's diagnostic skill. For subsequent generations of practitioners, recording has meant demonstrating to the supervisor the quality of one's diagnostic thinking. The open-ended and discursive nature of the diagnostic record made it especially useful in individualizing the client's situation and providing information for psychosocial supervision. However, these same qualities made it ill-suited to a wider audience and for other uses. Such records tends to be idiosyncratic, unsystematic, and inefficient. Important information may be absent or difficult to retrieve, whereas sensitive personnel information and unconfirmed hypotheses may be all too accessible. As the definition of accountability broadened and agencies became more concerned with efficiency and client privacy, problems with the diagnostic record began to surface. With less time for recording and more uses for the record, agencies sought to establish guidelines and find formats that would assist practitioners in selecting information and organizing the content of the record. Was basically linked to three purposes in early social work practice, which were the immediate purpose of furthering effective treatment of individual clients, the ultimate purpose of general social betterment, and the incidental purpose of establishing the casework herself and thinking. The history has three types of case recording as follows: ledgers and narrative records, process recording, and diagnostic recording. These systems have become old but are still in use in most developing countries alongside the new system. Nigeria is one of the countries still using the old alongside new order. End of study session 6. Thank you for listening.